The corridor shook like a living beast as explosions tore through the alien ship. Fire rained from the ceiling. Smoke burned the air. Ethan ran low and fast, rifle tight in his hands. His breathing was harsh inside the helmet, every step echoing in the chaos. Behind him, his squad's voices were fading lost in the storm of gunfire and screams. He turned a corner, blaster ready, then stopped. There was a door. Not just any door, this one was reinforced, sealed with energy locks. Bright alien glyphs glowed across its surface, and behind it he heard something. A voice, a soft cry. Ethan froze, heart pounding. He pressed closer, the metallic heat biting his gloves. The voice came again, weak, trembling, and full of fear. Help. Someone, please. It wasn't a soldier's tone. It wasn't a warrior's roar. It was fragile, almost broken. He punched the panel, forcing the door open with a burst. From his override tool, the door hissed and slid aside. And there she was, an alien woman, tall, silver-skinned, with glowing blue veins tracing across her arms. Her wrists were locked in heavy chains, her ankles bound to the floor. She knelt on the cold metal, her head bowed, long dark hair tangled over her face. When she lifted her eyes, Ethan froze again. Her eyes weren't full of rage like the others he fought. They weren't sharp with hate. They were wide and wet with tears. She whispered something in her language, then switched to broken human tongue. Save me? Human, please. The words hit harder than any explosion. Ethan's grip on the rifle tightened. His training screamed at him. Don't trust it. It could be a trap. She could kill him the second he freed her, but she didn't look like a killer. Her body was thin, bruised, trembling as the ship shook again. Chains cut into her skin. Who are you? Ethan demanded, voice sharp over the noise of alarms. She struggled to speak. Kara. Name, Kara. Her breath shivered. Not enemy, please. Ethan scanned the cell. No weapons, no hidden tech. Just her. A prisoner in her own ship. Why? Another explosion rocked the hall. Smoke poured in. The ship was dying. Ethan knew the timer. They had maybe 5 minutes before this whole place became a grave. Why are you chained? He asked quickly, stepping. Inside, Kara's lips trembled. Because I betray them. No war. I want peace. Her voice broke on the last word. He stared at her, mind racing. If that was true, then leaving her here meant death, may be worse if her people found her. First, but taking her? That was treason in his book. A distant roar shook the air, enemy soldiers shouting, boots pounding. They were coming. Ethan cursed under his breath. No time to think. He dropped to his knee, pulling his blade from the belt. Sparks flew as he slashed through the energy chains. Kara gasped, her arms falling free, red marks burning her silver skin. She looked at him like he was something impossible, something she never expected. Why? You help. She whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He grabbed her arm, pulling her up. She stumbled, weak, her legs barely working. But she followed as alarms screamed louder. Move! He barked. They ran. Blaster fire cracked behind them as enemy troops spilled into the hall. Ethan spun, firing controlled bursts, cutting down 2 before dragging Kara into cover. She clung to his vest, breath ragged. Her hands were cold, too cold. Not like any human. Stay close, he said, pushing forward. They darted through smoke, past broken bulkheads, through flashing red corridors that felt like hell's own throat. Kara whispered words in her language, over and over, maybe a prayer, maybe a plea. Ethan tried not to listen, tried not to feel that strange pull when she said his name for the first time, soft as a secret. E. Then they reached a junction and froze. The path ahead was blocked by a burning wall of debris. Behind them, footsteps thundered closer. Kara grabbed his arm, eyes wide with panic. "No way," she gasped. Ethan's jaw tightened. There was always a way. He spotted a vent shaft to the left, barely wide enough for one. It was their only chance. "Go," he said, shoving her toward it. She shook her head weakly. "You first." He almost laughed. Even now, she thought about him. Strange. "No time," he growled. "Move." Kara crawled in, her body twisting like a shadow, and Ethan followed, pulling the cover shut behind them as enemy voices roared into the hall. The shaft was dark, hot, and narrow. Their breathing filled the silence. Ethan's heart hammered as he crawled, Kara just ahead. Then, in the darkness, her voice came again. Soft, fragile. "Thank you. Human." Ethan didn't reply. He couldn't, because for the first time in this war, he wasn't sure who the enemy really asterisked behind them. The sound of metal tearing echoed through the shaft. The enemy had found them. Asterisk, the shaft groaned like an old beast. Metal screamed behind them as claws tore through the hatch. Shadows of armored soldiers spilled light into the darkness. "Go." Ethan barked, shoving Kara forward. The shaft was narrow too tight for speed. Every second felt like a blade at his back. Kara crawled fast, her breath ragged. Sparks rained as enemy cutters ripped through steel. A hand punched through the wall, claws grasping. Ethan fired twice. Screams echoed. The shaft shook. It wouldn't hold for long. Ethan's mind raced. If they stayed, they'd die in this tunnel like rats. He scanned ahead through the dim glow of emergency lights. A faint shimmer of blue, and exit hatch, salvation. Almost there. He yelled. Kara twisted to look back. Her silver eyes glowed faintly in the dark, full of fear and something else trust. It shook him harder than the ship's explosions. A blast ripped the shaft open. Fire gushed in like a living beast. Heat slammed against Ethan's armor, burning. His skin beneath. "Move, Kara." He roared. She kicked forward, slamming the hatch release. The door hissed open to a storm of smoke and flashing alarms. Ethan shoved her through, rolling out behind her as the shaft collapsed in a roar of fire. They tumbled into chaos, a maintenance bay ripped apart by war. Sparks rained like angry stars. Flames licked the walls. Dead soldiers, alien and human, lay scattered in pools of black and red. Kara coughed, staggering to her feet. Her chains still clinked against her ankles, slowing her down. Ethan grabbed a plasma, cut her from a fallen enemy, and sliced through the rest of her bonds. The sound of freedom was sharp and bright. Kara looked at her bare wrists like they belonged to someone else. Then she looked at him. "You? Keep saving me," she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He scanned the bay, adrenaline pounding like war drums. There a door to the lower decks, still intact. If they could reach the hangar, maybe, just maybe, they could live. "Stay close," he ordered, voice tight. Kara nodded, her breath trembling. Her steps were weak, but her eyes burned with something fierce. They ran. The deck tilted under. Their feet as explosions ripped through the ship. Smoke choked the air. Warning sirens wailed like dying ghosts. "Why are they after you?" Ethan shouted over the chaos. Kara flinched, then answered in a broken voice. "Because I know things. Dangerous things. They fear me." "Fear you?" Ethan barked a bitter laugh. "You don't look very scary." Her lips curved in something almost like a smile, but then gunfire screamed. A squad burst through the far door, weapons glowing with alien light. Ethan dove, pulling Kara down as energy blasts shredded the air where their heads had been. "Stay." "Down," he snarled, rolling to cover behind a ruined console. He fired in sharp bursts, dropping 2 soldiers, but more kept coming. Kara pressed close to the floor, her heart hammering so loud he could almost hear it. Then, in a voice so soft it cut through the noise, she said, "Ethan, if we die, I'm sorry." Her tone made him freeze for half a heartbeat, just enough for a blast to tear past his shoulder, searing armor. He cursed, ducked, fired again. Not dying today. He snapped, yanking her up. They sprinted for the side door, every step a gamble with death. Blasts carved the walls. Metal screamed. The door slammed behind them just as the bay erupted in. A firestorm, throwing heat like a sun. They staggered into a dark corridor, smoke curling like black ghosts. Kara leaned on him, her legs barely holding. Her skin burned cold through his gloves, her breath shaking against his neck. Where now? She whispered. Ethan stared ahead, pulse racing. He didn't know. Not yet. But he'd figure it out, because leaving her behind wasn't an option anymore. Then a voice crackled in his comb, harsh and cold. "Soldier, report. Kill any alien survivors. Do you copy?" Ethan froze. The order hit like a bullet to the chest. His eyes went to Kara, her fragile form against the firelit walls, her silver eyes watching him with something close to hope. He killed the comm with a sharp motion. No answer. Just silence. Kara's voice broke the stillness, trembling. "Why? Stop walking." Ethan swallowed hard, forcing steel into his tone. "Because from here, it only gets harder." Asterisk behind them, metal boots slammed against the floor, enemy soldiers closing in, and Ethan's own team hunting him now. Asterisk. The corridor swallowed them whole, dark, silent, broken by flickers of red emergency lights. The ship moaned like a dying beast as fire gutted its heart. Ethan shoved Kara into a side hatch, slamming it shut behind them. The small chamber smelled of burnt metal and blood. Pipes hissed steam, and shadows clung to every corner. He pressed his back to the wall, rifle raised, listening. Heavy boots thundered past the hatch. Voices barked in the alien tongue, angry, hunting. Kara crouched in the far corner, hugging herself, breath trembling. Her silver skin shimmered in the dim light, veins glowing faintly like threads of ice. "Are we safe?" she whispered. Ethan didn't answer at first. His mind burned with the voice that still rang in his ears. Kill any alien survivors? Safe? No, not for her. Not for him. Not for long, he muttered. They'll sweep every deck. Kara's eyes met his. For a moment, neither spoke. Then, in a voice so soft it barely touched the air, she said, "You didn't kill me." Ethan's jaw tightened. He didn't know why he hadn't. Training said one thing. Orders said the same. But something in those eyes broken. Yes, but fierce made it impossible. "Don't thank me yet," he said coldly. "We're both dead if we stay here." She crawled closer, her chains gone, but the red marks still burning on her wrists. "There is a way," she said, her voice shaking. Ethan looked at her sharply. "Speak fast." Kara drew a breath, steadying herself. "I know the codes," she whispered. "The ones your leaders want. The codes that can end this war." His eyes narrowed. "You expect me to believe that?" Her chin lifted, stubborn. Despite her trembling, "I was commander. Before I refused the slaughter, they jailed me for mercy." Her voice cracked on the last word, but her gaze never wavered. "I carry the master key. Not on a chip, not in a device. Where then?" He demanded. She placed a hand over her chest. "Here, in me." Ethan's stomach nodded. His eyes dropped to where her hand rested, just above her heart. A faint glow pulsed beneath her skin, slow and alive. "That thing inside you," he began. "It is not a thing," she said quickly. It is part of me, a living code. I am. The key. Ethan stared, the weight of her words crashing over him. If this was true, she wasn't just a prisoner. She was a weapon. A prize every army would kill or die for. Why tell me this? He asked, voice low. Kara leaned forward, her silver eyes shimmering in the red light. Because you saved me, and because I need you to save me again. Ethan's hands curled into fists. And what do you want in return? Her answer was barely a whisper. My life. The chamber fell silent, except for the distant thunder of boots and the groan of a dying ship. Ethan felt the weight of his rifle like a judgment. Orders screamed. In his head, kill her, take the codes, end the war. But then she said something that burned those thoughts away. If they catch me, your world burns next. His breath caught. What? Kara's voice was steady now, like steel wrapped in silk. They will not forgive me. They will not forgive you. But if I die here, their war machines will never stop. Your Earth will fall, like mine almost did. Ethan stared at her, this alien, fragile yet fierce, offering him a choice heavier than any trigger he had ever pulled. Finally, he said the words he wasn't sure he meant until they left his lips. What's your plan? Kara's eyes flickered with something like hope and something darker. There is a way to reach the hangar, she said softly, but her breath trembled as she added, I cannot do it alone. Ethan's gut twisted. He didn't trust her, but he trusted what was coming if he didn't act a war with no end. He nodded once. Then we move. Kara reached out slowly, her cold fingers brushing his gloved hand for the briefest second. Not a plea this time. A promise. Before Ethan could say anything, a sound shattered the moment the hiss. Then a crash as the hatch behind them buckled inward. Asterisk, a soldier's blade punched through the steel. Shadows loomed, weapons glowing like molten suns. Asterisk, the hatch exploded inward. Shards of molten steel ripped the air like daggers. Ethan slammed Kara down as a plasma bolt hissed past his head, melting the wall behind them. Move! He barked, rolling into the shadows as enemy soldiers poured through the breach. Kara stumbled to her feet, her breath ragged, chains clinking faintly around her ankles. The glow in her chest pulsed faster now, as if sensing death closing in. Blaster. Fire carved the room into chaos. Ethan dropped 2 soldiers with clean bursts, but there were more too many. This way, Kara cried, pulling him toward a narrow gap behind a broken coolant tank. Steam hissed like a serpent as they slipped through, just as the tank erupted in a flood of boiling vapor. Swallowing their pursuers in white fire, they plunged into another corridor, running hard, feet pounding on trembling steel. The ship groaned. Louder now, splitting apart like a dying monster. Flames licked the walls. Alarms screamed, warning that the reactor was seconds from overload. Ethan yanked Kara into a maintenance bay, slammed the door, and braced against it as dust and heat rolled over them. He stared at her, chest heaving. Talk, he growled. What the hell is inside you? Kara stood against the wall, hair clinging to her damp skin. Her silver eyes glowed faintly through the haze. Slowly, almost like a confession, she lifted her hand to her chest. This, she whispered, is the master code. It is my people's soul. Every ship, every weapon, every world linked to me. Ethan's pulse hammered. You're telling me you control their whole war machine? No, she said softly. I was the control until I said no. Her voice trembled, the weight of the word crushing her. I refused the purge. I refused to burn a world of innocence. So they tore my rank away and chained me here. Her eyes glistened, not just with fear, but something Ethan didn't expect, shame. He took a slow step closer, trying to read her face through the smoke. And now? What do you want from me? Kara's gaze locked on his, sharp as broken glass. I want you to get me out alive, because if they take me, your Earth will be next. The words hit like a hammer. Ethan's jaw clenched. He thought of the message from command. Kill any alien survivors. If he followed orders, Perth might die. If he trusted her, he might doom everyone anyway. Kara moved closer, her voice low and urgent. Ethan, you don't trust me. I feel it. But if you let them take me... She swallowed hard, eyes burning. Your world burns, like mine. For a moment, neither spoke. The air trembled with the sound of a distant explosion. As the ship began to rip apart, Ethan lifted his rifle, staring at her, really staring. His finger hovered near the trigger. Kara didn't flinch, didn't plead. She simply said, in a voice barely above the hum of dying lights, "Kill me if you must. But look in my eyes when you do it." The silence after those words was louder than any explosion. Ethan's breath hitched. He lowered the rifle. "Not today," he said. Something broke in Kara's face relief, sharp and fragile, flooding her silver eyes. For a second, she almost smiled. "Then listen," she whispered quickly. "There is a path to the hangar. I can open the doors." But a deep rumble cut her off. The floor tilted, hurling them against the wall as metal screamed and fire poured down the corridor. The reactor was tearing the ship in half. Kara grabbed his arm, nails biting through his glove. "No more time," she gasped. "If we don't reach the pod now, we die." Ethan yanked the door open, smoke flooding in. Together, they ran through fire, through falling steel, through a ship collapsing under its own rage. They burst into a vast chamber, the hangar, or what was left of it. Flames clawed at the walls. Debris floated in low gravity. Among the wreckage, an escape pod flickered like a dying star. Ethan's heart kicked. One chance. That was it, Dot. Then a shadow fell across the firelight. A figure stepped from the smoke-armored head to toe, taller than any human, holding a blade that glowed like molten light. Behind him, soldiers fanned out, weapons aimed at Ethan and Kara. Leader's voice rumbled like thunder. "Give us the traitor, and die quickly." Kara gripped Ethan's arm so tight it hurt. Her whisper was a blade of fear and steel all at once. "Don't let them take me. Please." Ethan lifts his rifle. Slowly, eyes locked on the giant warrior as soldiers close in. One pod, one shot, one choice. The hangar burned like a sun. Flames danced along shattered ships. Smoke rose in black pillars, choking the air. And in that storm of chaos, Ethan stood still, his rifle raised, staring at the monster in front of him. The alien leader was massive armor, black as obsidian etched with glowing runes. His blade hummed with white fire, dripping molten light onto the floor. Behind him, soldiers spread like wolves, their weapons aimed at Ethan's chest. "Give her to us," the leader's voice rolled through the smoke like thunder. "Do this, and I will make your death painless." Ethan's pulse hammered. His finger brushed the trigger. Beside him, Kara trembled not from fear, but from something deeper. He felt it in the way she pressed against his arm, her breath shaking as she whispered, "They'll tear me apart. Not just my body, my mind. Everything." "I know." The leader's blade lifted, bright enough to blind. "Choose, human." Ethan swallowed hard. In his ear, his tongue crackled, his commander's voice cutting like ice. "Soldier, status, execute orders. Kill the alien and secure the hangar." The words hit like a hammer. Orders, duty. Everything drilled into his bones screamed the same. "End it. Take the shot. Obey." His gaze flicked to Kara. Her eyes were locked on his silver pools. glowing like liquid moonlight through smoke and fire. There was no plea this time, no words, just trust. And in that trust, something broke inside Ethan. He smashed the cum against the wall, sparks flaring as his commander's voice died in static. The alien leader tilted his head slowly, almost curious. "You choose betrayal?" Ethan's answer was a whisper of steel as he slid his rifle into a killing grip. "I choose her." Kara's breath caught, a sound halfway between shock and something he didn't have time to name. "Then you die." Screaming, the leader growled. The soldiers surged forward. Ethan grabbed Kara, yanking her behind cover as plasma bolts tore the air into fire. His rifle spat death, dropping 2 soldiers in a blink. The leader's blade carved through steel like paper, slicing a column in half as Ethan rolled away, dragging Kara with him. "Run!" he shouted, shoving her toward the pod across the hangar floor. Kara stumbled, her legs weak, but she moved, her glowing veins pulsing faster with every step. The living code inside her was reacting, burning brighter, feeding on fear. The enemy closed in like a tide of shadows. Ethan fought like a man possessed, every shot buying a heartbeat, every heartbeat worth her life. "Don't stop," he roared, slamming a fresh mag into his rifle, his armor scorched and smoking. Kara reached the pod, fingers flying over the alien controls. Her hands shook, her breath coming in sharp bursts. "It's locked," she cried. "I need a moment. We don't have a moment." Ethan snarled, blasting another soldier back into the flames. The leader strode through the fire like a god of war, blade glowing hotter, steps echoing like doom. He lifted the sword high, voice a roar. "She belongs to us." Ethan spun rifle, raised too slow. The blade came down in an arc of molten light, and Kara screamed, not in fear. In power, the glow in her chest erupted, spilling light through her veins like rivers of fire. A shockwave blasted the hangar, hurling soldiers across the floor, shattering glass and steel. Ethan slammed into the pod's side, ears ringing, vision burning white. When the light faded, Kara was on her knees, trembling, her skin shining like molten silver. The leader staggered, armor cracked, his blade flickering. Ethan crawled to her, heart pounding. What did you just do?" Her voice was a whisper of broken glass. "Use the key, but it drains me. I can't do it again." Her body slumped against him, weak, burning with heat. He held her close, eyes darting as the leader rose again, fury boiling in his black eyes. "Enough!" the alien roared. "You both die now." Ethan shoves Kara into the pod, slams the hatch, and turns rifle empty, enemy blade blazing, death seconds away. The hangar burned like a world on fire. Debris floated in the air under failing gravity. Sparks rained from broken systems. The escape pod hummed weakly behind Ethan, its hatch sealed with Kara inside. And in front of him death stood waiting. The alien leader raised his molten blade, its white light cutting through the smoke. His black armor glowed with cracks from Kara's energy blast, but his voice was steady, filled with rage and triumph. "You are brave, human," he growled. "But bravery will not stop this blade." Ethan's rifle clicked empty. The sound was like a sentence. No bullets. No chance. He glanced back at the pod, saw Kara through the glass, her silver eyes wide, her hands beating against the seal. She mouthed his name, her lips trembling, her breath fogging the glass. For a moment, time froze. Ethan thought of earth-blue skies, warm light, the faces of people who would never know what happened here. Then he thought of her, an alien, a stranger, but somehow more real than anything else in this burning void. He dropped the rifle, drew his combat knife, stood tall, If you want her, Ethan said, voice cold as steel, you go through me. Me? Leader's laugh rumbled like thunder. Then he moved faster than thought. The blade came down in a storm of white fire. Ethan rolled, heat searing his armor, the floor melting where he'd stood. He slashed with his knife, sparks dancing as steel kissed alien metal. The impact rattled his bones. The blade swung again. He ducked, spun, drove his knife into a gap in the armor. The leader roared, backhanding Ethan across the floor. Pain exploded in his ribs. His vision blurred. Blood filled his mouth. Pathetic, the alien snarled, wrenching the knife from his. Sighed and tossing it aside. You bleed for a creature that will never be yours. Ethan coughed, forcing his body up, swaying on broken knees. His voice was a ragged whisper. Not about mine, about right. The leader raised the blade for the final strike, and then light erupted. The pod door exploded outward in a shockwave of molten steel. Kara stepped through the smoke like a ghost born of fire. Her veins blazed with living light, brighter than before, her hair streaming in waves of silver flame. Her eyes gods, her eyes were twin suns burning with fury. Touch him. Her voice cracked like thunder. And you die. The leader turned, laughing low. You have nothing left, traitor. You spent your power. Kara's body trembled as she walked forward, barefoot on the burning floor. Her glow pulsed weaker now, but still alive, fighting against death itself. Ethan's broken voice rasped, Kara, don't. She looked at him, and in that look was something he never expected. Not just trust, not just gratitude. Something deeper, something dangerous. I won't let you fall, she whispered. Then she screamed, not in pain, but in defiance. Light tore from her skin, burning through the air like living fire. The leader roared as his armor melted, his blade shattering under the force. Kara dropped to her knees, the glow flickering like a dying star. The alien leader fell beside her, his body cracking apart, his voice choking in rage as darkness swallowed. Silence crashed over the hangar. The battle was done. Ethan crawled to her, his body shaking, blood dripping from his mouth. He caught her before she collapsed fully, cradling her glowing, broken frame in his arms. Kara. No, he whispered, his voice raw. Stay with me. Her breath was shallow, her skin burning like fire and ice, all at once. Her silver eyes flickered open, dim but still full of life. You saved me. Again, she whispered, her lips trembling against his ear. Ethan's throat clenched. No, you saved me. A faint smile touched her lips, a fragile, dying thing. Then we are even. He looked toward the pod still functional, its engines humming softly. There was a chance. A small one. He lifted her, every muscle screaming. In pain, and carried her toward salvation, through the wreckage of hell. Behind them, the alien flagship tore itself apart, fire blooming like a second sun in the void. Asterisk. As the pod door sealed and stars swallowed the view, Kara whispered something that froze Ethan's blood. They will never stop hunting me. Or you. The pod streaked through the void like a dying star, engines groaning as it tore free of the collapsing warship. Behind them, the alien flagship exploded into a sunburst of fire and broken steel, scattering across the black sea of space. Inside the pod, silence hung heavy, broken only by Ethan's ragged breaths and the faint hum of failing systems. He sat against the cold metal wall, Kara in his arms, her body limp but glowing faintly, like embers refusing to die. Her skin burned against his armor, veins flickering with dim light. Her breathing was shallow, uneven. Every time her chest rose, Ethan's heart dared to hope and feared the next breath wouldn't come. Stay with me, he whispered, his voice breaking. His hands trembled as he cupped her face. Her silver eyes fluttered open, weak but still holding that strange, unyielding fire. You saved me, she whispered, voice so fragile it barely touched the air. Ethan shook his head fiercely, tears burning his eyes. No, you saved me. You saved all of us. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. Not all. War will come. They will never forgive this. He clenched his jaw. Let them come. I'll fight every damn one of them. Kara's breath hitched half a laugh, half a sob. Her hand trembled as she reached up, her fingers brushing his face. Cold and burning at the same time. You humans, she whispered. So reckless, so pure. Ethan leaned close, pressing, his forehead against hers. Don't you dare die on me now? Her eyes softened. A tear-liquid silver slid down her cheek. If I die, take this. Before he could ask, her glow pulsed brighter, bleeding into his skin where her hand touched his chest. He gasped as warmth surged through him. Deep, primal, alive. What are you doing? He choked. Her voice was a fading flame, sharing the code. A part of me inside you now. If they kill me, you hold the key. No. Ethan's voice cracked like shattered glass. Kara, stop. You don't have to do this. But it was too late. The light dimmed. Her hand fell weakly to her side. Her silver eyes closed slow, peaceful. Ethan froze. The pod was silent. The hum of engines distant, hollow. His arms tightened around her, his throat tearing open in a whisper. Kara. No, no, no. For a moment, there was nothing but the black of space pressing against the pod windows. Then her chest rose. Shallow, trembling, but alive. Her eyes flickered open, dim but burning. Her lips moved, forming words that carved themselves into Ethan's. Soul, I promised you, more than life. His breath hitched, tears cutting through blood and smoke on his face. He laughed broken, disbelieving as relief crashed over him like a tidal wave. He pressed his forehead to hers again, holding her close like the only truth left in a universe on fire. Outside the pod, stars stretched like rivers of light. But far beyond, in the endless dark, something stirred massive, waiting, watching. Kara's voice trembled against his ear, soft and heavy with warning. They will come for us, for you, for what we carry now. Ethan looked out at the void, jaw set, his hand tightening around hers. Then let them. The pod drifts into the ocean of stars. Two fragile lives bound by something greater than warbound, by a promise that could shatter galaxies. Asterisk, together we hold their end. Asterisk, the end